Dozens of people are searching for a missing hiker in the gorge.
21-year-old Riley Zickel set out on an overnight hike by himself.
Colorado County Sheriff's Office is searching for a missing hiker on the Olympic Peninsula.
John and Trevor Higgins, the father and son, were last seen Friday. They disappeared while hunting near Bear Camp Road above Agnes.
21-year-old Riley Zickel, the senior at Lewis and Clark College, disappeared.
An emotional plea from friends of a woman who is missing right now in the Skamania County wilderness. She's 19 years old, Maureen Kelly.
Searchers are looking for a 76-year-old farmer who did not come back from mushroom hunting near Grangeville.
Hello and welcome to the Pacific Northwest Missing Persons Project. I'm your host, Tanner Hoskins, Executive Director here at PNW MPP, and of course, the co-founder here at Pacific Northwest Bigfoot Search. What I'd like to talk about first is what we are doing in the field in regards to Sasquatch research. It's these longer winter months where our Sasquatch research really ramps up, and we have already had a few scouting trips into the Tillamook State Forest as well as the Mount Hood National Forest. I gave a little bit of a breakdown of where our Sasquatch report hotspot was on Mount Hood in a previous episode, and today I'll be sharing a little bit more about where we're looking in the Tillamook State Forest as to our research zone in the northwest corner of Oregon. The Tillamook research location is in an area that I located my first possible Sasquatch track embedded in a spur of a ridgeline near Give Out Mountain in 2022. Our team had received a tip from some bow hunters in the area that heard a strange vocalization, and they said that they had thought they'd seen a bear walking on its back legs up a hillside. After receiving that tip, I visited the area with my brother, Trevor McDaniel, 2 weeks after the report, and after an hour or two of walking around, we located one possible track at the edge of a road crossing through a game trail. The track led uphill from a very steep valley up to the overgrown logging road that we were walking, and the track continued across that logging road with a possible heel print being the only secondary trackway. The creature continued into thick vegetation before dropping nearly 1,000 feet in elevation down into another valley that held a stream in it on the opposite side of the ridge that we were on. Now, images of this track can be found on our website at pnwbigfootsearch.com underneath our report section. More about what we are doing in the field will be shared in next week's podcast episode, but for now, we are going to start getting into the missing persons case. This week, the case I'm sharing is that of Kyron Horman, a 7-year-old boy that vanished from Skyline Elementary School in rural Washington County, Oregon on June 4th of 2010. Now, the Kyron Horman disappearance is one of the most expensive search and rescue operations ever conducted in Oregon State history, and I'm going to do my best to keep it in chronological order. Now, I'm also going to touch base on some of the issues that have come up since Kyron's disappearance involving individuals that have been considered possible suspects. Foul play has not been ruled out, and in fact, law enforcement for a little while was fairly certain that foul play was involved in some way, shape, or form. This is a very convoluted, very messy missing persons case, and I'm going to do my best to stay on track and give you the details and all the facts as I know them to be and as they have been shared publicly through the news media and law enforcement releases. Kyron Horman was a 7-year-old boy from Portland, Oregon, who vanished on June 4th of 2010 after attending the science fair at his elementary school known as Skyline Elementary near Forest Park on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. Kyron was last seen wearing a black t-shirt with CSI written in green lettering on the front. He was also wearing black cargo pants, white socks, and black Skechers sneakers with orange trim. Kyron also wore metal-framed glasses. Kyron was taken to the school that morning by his stepmother, known as Terry Horman at the time. Terry stated that she last saw Kyron at about 8:45 a.m. as she was walking him down the hallway toward his classroom. However, Kyron never made it to his first class and was marked absent all day. Terry would later claim to law enforcement that she ran errands at a Fred Meyer grocery store in Hillsboro until 10:15 a.m. and then drove around from 10:15 to 11:40 a.m. trying to get her younger daughter to take a nap. At approximately 12:40 p.m., she supposedly went to the gym, and at 1:21 p.m., Terry said she returned home and posted photos of Kyron at the science fair on her social media. At about 3:35 p.m., Terry and Kyron's biological father, Kane, went to the bus stop to greet Kyron. When Kyron didn't arrive, Terry contacted Skyline Elementary School and learned that Kyron had never made it to class that day. Search and rescue teams and law enforcement agencies from the surrounding area immediately began a search within a 2-mile radius of Skyline Elementary School. On June 10th of 2010, the search area expanded to Savi's Island, about 6 miles from the elementary school, and focused on the Savi Island Bridge. Law enforcement did not disclose why they were searching this area, but maintained a heavy presence for a number of days. Kyron was described by family as a timid and cautious second grader who was not known to wander far from home. There was little reason to believe that he had voluntarily wandered off. As with any missing persons case, especially a child, public criticism grew when it was revealed that Skyline Elementary did not notify Kyron's parents that he didn't make it to the first class until the end of the school day. This was due to someone reportedly informing teachers that Kyron had had a doctor's appointment and was going to miss class. Law enforcement began scrutinizing the phone records of those closest to Kyron, particularly Terry Horman. Terry's phone had pinged near Highway 30, which is close to Savi's Island, where the search teams were actively searching. Someone later came forward and stated to law enforcement that another adult had been seen sitting in Terry's pickup truck in front of the school on the day that Kyron disappeared. Other witnesses would also come forward, stating that they had seen Kyron walking in front of the school after the science fair with Terry Horman in the direction of the family pickup. On June 12th of 2010, 8 days after Kyron's disappearance, over 300 trained search and rescue volunteers continued combing the woods around Skyline Elementary. In total, more than 1,300 searchers from Oregon, Washington, and California participated in the effort. Despite offering a $50,000 reward, not one trace of Kyron Horman was ever located. It was 2 days later, on June 14th, that law enforcement announced Kyron's case was now a criminal investigation. 2 days after that announcement, Kyron's face appeared on the cover of People magazine. His case was also featured on America's Most Wanted and CNN's Nancy Grace Show. By July 1st, local news outlets reported that Terry Horman had lied to investigators and had become uncooperative. That same day, Kyron's biological parents publicly pleaded with Terry to assist in the investigation. It wasn't until later into the law enforcement investigation that Kane Horman had revealed that Terry had allegedly offered their landscaper a large sum of money back in January of 2010 to have Kane killed. The landscaper confirmed this claim to law enforcement. To add to the mystery, Terry Horman also failed 2 polygraph tests administered to her during the investigation. In August of 2010, Terry's close friend named Dee Spiker, last name of Spicher, had stated earlier to law enforcement that she had been gardening all day on the day that Kyron disappeared, though it would turned out that she was actually not at home from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the day that Kyron vanished. Dee was unable to provide an explanation as to where she was during that 3-hour time frame. Despite all of this conflicting information and direct lies made to law enforcement, no arrests were made in the case, and by the end of 2010, more than $1.4 million had been spent on the search for Kyron. Law enforcement had received more than 4,000 tips, and to this day, it remains one of the largest search and rescue operations in Oregon history. Now, this is the part that I stray a little bit away from Kyron's disappearance and give you information about what has occurred with the family since Kyron vanished, particularly that of Terry. After Kyron's disappearance, Terry Horman has remained on law enforcement's radar due to various legal troubles and due to being the prime suspect in Kyron's disappearance. To give a little bit of detail in this, in 2015, Terry's roommates had reported her to law enforcement for stealing a firearm from a safe. She was actually found in possession of the stolen firearm and later failed to appear in court, which led to a warrant for her arrest being issued. In November of 2016, Terry's then boyfriend filed a restraining order alleging that she had attempted to stab him multiple times with a kitchen knife. Later in 2017, Terry was arrested in Yuba County, California for grand theft of a firearm and was found in possession of a stolen vehicle, though the vehicle-related charges were later dropped. There's no specific details as to whose vehicle she had stolen or why those charges were dropped against her. To this day, more than 14 years after Kyron's disappearance, the search for Kyron remains an active investigation. No arrests have been made, and no charges have been filed in connection to Kyron's disappearance, though multiple grand juries have heard testimony, but justice for Kyron remains elusive. Now, it is believed, unless a third-party person somehow got involved in this case, Kyron is likely somewhere between Savi's Island and Skyline Elementary School. Someone out there knows where Kyron is, and they know what happened to him that day. It has been 14 years. It's time to come forward and close this case for the Horman and Young family. Closure needs to be brought not only to the family, but also to every personnel that was involved in the search for Kyron and for the Washington County community as a whole. And as I always stress to all of you, please keep the Young and Horman family in your thoughts and prayers. If you find yourself recreating in the area of Savi's Island or exploring some of the portions of the Cornelius Pass Road near Skyline, please keep an eye out for anything that might belong to Kyron. You never know when you might locate something that brings answers and closure to a grieving family. Sources for everything that I spoke about in today's episode are available in the podcast description. And as always, if you plan to recreate anywhere in the United States, please check out our website at pnwmpp.org. There you can find an interactive map on our homepage where you can see who has gone missing in the areas that you plan to recreate in. Remain vigilant, keep your eyes open, and like I said earlier, you never know when you might locate something that brings answers and closure to a grieving family. Thank you.